Recording. This is going to be Beth's presentation about Margot.
You're all jealous about because I got. It's so easy to say. Oh, here comes that's mom. Okay, so so I have. So this year I hadn't seen Margot in like 2 years, and all of a sudden comes this funny, like confident humor, awesome humor out of the car, and I was seriously blown away. I mean, all of a sudden, Margot, after 2 years of not seeing her, has turned into this totally different personality, which is then coming out of amazing places. And I think what I really liked about Margot the best is one, in a family full of super like sports oriented, highly opinionated, very pressure oriented people, Margot's like, no, you know what, people? I'll do what I want. Do a little air, otherwise I'm done. It just with complete confidence and not caring at all. It's awesome. And then what I loved, second thing about her is that she had no problem like laying into me with a very, very funny way about all the stupid stuff that I was doing. Especially the ski rope, she just nailed from the first second. She just sat there, just the jokes were just flying left and right. And she was so good. She was so good. I mean, she was up at, the level of Ann Wolf, who's the only other person that
Yeah, I was about to say, has she reached Ann status?
About me.
Yes. Yeah, she can be sarcastic.
He's been making notes for years now on how to do this, and she just nailed it completely. And I just really thought, this is someone who I would love to go hang out with, have a drink with. Like, Margot, let's face it, she's got a lot to teach you. She's got a lot. You can learn a lot from Margot, like maturity and just sense and just watching, but being herself. So, yep, if it has to do with the parents, done. Pick your parents out. I don't know what.
That's not
done,
me.
you guys. Well done. But yeah, no, tell Margot she's awesome.
All right.
Okay, so let's hear from Max here on Christmas morning. A story about tea.
Story about tea.
In his Christmas sweater.
He's making it up right now.
He's done a lot of prep work.
This one, this was also, last summer, I guess. He taught me how to play this card game that her and Tom.
Hand and foot.
Hand and foot. And so we were kind of just sitting around at home after the day had ended. Saw they were playing the card game. Asked what was fun. He said me, and I said sounded fun, and
All right.
You have to teach your mother so she doesn't have to watch so much Netflix.
I'm just wondering, isn't hand and foot some sort of disease, or am I wrong?
Yes.
Hand, foot, and mouth
that's
disease.
fun now.
Or that's foot and mouth? Okay.
Learning the card.
Okay, so this is about Kathy by Anne as conveyed by Adrian. All right, Anne says, Kathy felt bad when the Anne, Sarah, and Beth were young that Kathy had to go and work all the time. But Anne always appreciated the fact that that work then provided the means for all three of her daughters to go to college, which was much appreciated and especially impressive working outside the home back in the olden times when women typically did not work outside the home. So Anne wanted to give appreciation and recognition to Kathy for her hard work and for her work that provided the means for her daughters to be fully educated in college and then have a great future for themselves. So that's Anne's story.
The only one that comes to mind, and I don't know if you all saw the tape, was my parents' 50th, and the kid pulled out his guitar and started singing and played a Peter, Paul, and Mary song that I swore Beth was going to get married to. Maybe you did, babe. We don't know.
No.
No, you didn't? Oh, that's a bummer. Anyway, but I cried my eyes out. It was crazy. He's like the most talented little thing. And then I had a memory on Facebook because we were in Italy like 10 years ago. And he was wearing his little like Cape Maharaja cape and he was trying to find the ice cream store and he was all high on sugar and looked really, really crazy. And I was like, this kid's always been so cute and spot on. It's not really a good story, but if you've ever heard him play the guitar for my parents on their anniversary,
That's
Yeah.
pretty good.
Well, Sarah, you missed him do his first open mic night here in Hillman this past summer.
Yeah, it was the world
He
premiere.
performed.
The world premiere at the Brush Creek Mill.
That's right. That's right.
And his mom performed one song with him.
see, I had watched the clip, but I didn't realize I was in Hillman. I thought that you guys were like in a Denmark school, and I was like, oh, Beth's like in his shows now. Okay, this is interesting. Yeah.
My presentation about Dad is 2 short stories about the time Dad supported me or stuck up for me. One story I think I've told several times before, which was I was probably 6 or 7 years old, and we lived on the east side of Shorewood, and as you walked up and over the hill down towards Lake Bluff Elementary, on your right you would pass what was then called the North Shore Bank, and that's where Dad had the mortgage and the checking account. And as I recall, back in the olden times before ATMs, where Mom would go and cash a check to get cash for the coming week, I don't know, every Monday or every Friday. And so I was probably 6 or 7, and I had saved up my money from my allowance or doing chores or whatever it was, and I probably had a grand total of, $11.35, right? It was my life savings at that time. It was absolutely nothing, but I was so, excited about having $11.35. And Dad, as a good, responsible parent, said, let's go down to the bank and open up a bank account for you. And I said, oh, that's a great idea, because I had seen Mom cashing checks and I saw the transactions happening. And I thought, ooh, I'm going to enter the world of the adults, of the big money here. So I'm going to have my own bank account. And we went down to the North Shore Bank, and Dad walked in with me, and I was, again, very small, and the place looked huge, the big atrium and all these tellers coming and going. And we went over to the assistant manager or whomever, and Dad said, we'd like to open a bank account for my son here. He's got his life savings. And of course, I look like a little Dickensian little child with my, dollars and pennies in my hands. And the lady said, oh, that's great. How much would you like to deposit? And I said, $11.35. And the lady turned to my father, Dad, and said, I'm sorry, sir, we have a minimum deposit amount of, let's say $100 or something like that. And that was like far beyond, another 8 years of working at my chores, I might have $100. And I was crestfallen. I was just like, oh, this is terrible. I wanted to have a bank account, and I'm not going to get one. And Dad, to his credit, very calmly said, now, surely we can open an account for my son. He'd like to have a bank account. It's a nice thing to establish. No big deal. And the lady was adamant. No, sir, I'm very sorry. We have a $100 minimum. We cannot open the account for your son. And then it was great. Dad got very still, very calm. And he said, I understand. I tell you what, as long as I'm here, could you please close my checking account, my savings account? I would like all of my CDs cashed out. And please give me the paperwork by which I can transfer my mortgage out of this bank. And immediately the lady said, oh, you know what? I think we can waive the $100.
Good.
And they gave me my little, that back in the day you had a little paper, passbook account where you'd record how much money you have. I still have that. It's up in upstairs desk somewhere, and it has, the transactions where I'm like depositing $1.10, withdrawing $1.15, whatever. But that only existed, and it was my entree into the financial world as a result of Dad saying, the Wolf family would like proper service on behalf of my son. And that I was so happy that Dad had helped me do that, and he stuck up for me in a way that I thought was very effective. So I thought that was great. So the second story is much shorter. I was on the swim team in high school, as we all recall, as most of this family was at one time or another. And I was not a great swimmer. I did not have the upper body that the three Wolf brothers had. But I stuck with it. I did it all 4 years. The senior year, the team was actually quite good. I was one of the worst swimmers on the team, but the team was very good. And within our division or our league, we were very good, and we were always at the top or the second from the top year after year. Even though the team was actually really, really small, we would only barely fill the relays, all 3 relays. But because the team was so small, we absolutely needed every single point on every single meet in which to win. We would win, but we'd win literally by 1 or 2 points every time against teams that were 3 times bigger than us. Because we would have somebody finish first, and then the other teams would finish 6th, 7th, and 8th, right? And so the points would just barely offset, and we were barely ahead all the time. So even though I wasn't very good, it was important that I would finish 8th, because that gets you 1 point. And in fact, senior year, we were swimming at Whitefish Bay, and Dad didn't attend all of the meets because he was working, and many of these meets were, in the afternoons or not that late in the evening. But this particular meet was I think the second to last meet of my high school career. And it was in Whitefish Bay, so it was close by, and Dad showed up. And so I had to swim the 100 breaststroke, and I did, and sure enough, I finished 8th, and I understood, and I think Dad understood, that meant we were going to win. So even though I had not done particularly well myself, I understood that the 1 point that I had just drawn from finishing 8th meant we were going to win the meet. And I could hear Dad from the way at the back of the stands, and he just shouted out, "Great job, Adrian." And so that meant a lot. That's all.
All right, nice job.